The king, after hearing the prophecy about the child fated to depose him, decided to just let the events play out without interfering. I won't hear any more of this. Funny how once upon a time Mirios used to think that being the king would mean people would finally listen, stop arguing with him. Now, already 2 decades after his ascension to the throne, he knows better. His council and most of his servants just couldn't help themselves, even when he told them to stop. Still, he keeps hoping rather naively that this time will be the time it works. Lord Theodos, of course, dashes that hope mercilessly. Your Majesty, a prophecy like this, given on the very day of the solstice, can't possibly be ignored, the nervous man exclaims, wringing his hands together. Especially when it pertains to your safety and the stability of the kingdom. A sigh escapes Melios's lips, and he rubs at his head. Fortunately, Lord Theodos still has enough manners to take that obvious sign to stop talking and cuts himself off. Or maybe it's the hand that Melios has raised to stall any further stupid arguments from being made. He's getting too old for this. What do you expect me to do? He asked tiredly. Your oh so important prophecy was vague at best. A child will depose me. Ha! I've never heard of a prophecy with so little details. Yes, well, Lord Theodos says awkwardly. A child, Mirios repeats and sighs again. It could be any child, it could be any time. Maybe the babe isn't even born yet. What am I meant to do? Burn down the kingdom's orphanages? Order the guards to knock on every door and drag every child they come across to the chopping block? Repeat that every year? Don't be ridiculous. Yes, well, Lord Theodos says again, more awkwardly yet. He has a daughter, Mirios suddenly recalls, barely 10 years of age. Has he just now realized that the prophecy, vague dumb thing that it is, didn't even specify gender? That child could be Lord Theodos's. What then? Mirios pats Lord Theodos' shoulder once, watching as the man's face pales the more he obviously thinks about it. Maybe, Lord Theodos offers a minute of silent walking. The prophet could be convinced of giving a new prophecy, a more detailed one? Or maybe, Mirios says drily, we should just let things be. If I am meant to be deposed by a child, then who am I to go against my God-given fate? I did not know you were so pious, Your Majesty, Lord Theodos says. Mirios is hardly a believer, that's true, which is one of the reasons he doesn't see the need to be concerned about this sham of a prophecy. He's not a bad king, he's not a tyrant. He's not perfect, of course, but he does his best, and year after year the kingdom prospers enough that he is content with his own rule. No one has reason to depose him. He's not about to let paranoia-induced panic trick him into changing that. Besides, who knows? If the prophecy is true, its meaning could be a lot of things. A child could accidentally send him to his death and thus become the rightful ruler through right of conquest. Stupid way to determine rulers, really. But it's one of those things that is magically enforced, and so right of conquest remains. In fact, now that Marios thinks about it, he himself had to win a duel against his mother to get the crown. Technically, he did depose her, as did every single sovereign before him. Could it be that simple? Humming, Mirios decides to put the question out of his mind. He's really spent far too long entertaining that prophecy already. Though maybe it wasn't so much of a death omen as it was a nudge. He's not getting any younger, that's true, and he does need an heir. You know what, Mirios says, turning to Lord Theodos. Speaking of orphanages, I think I'll visit one today. The council has been harping on about my legacy. Lord Theodos looks pained. Your Majesty, I believe they meant that you ought to marry, not adopt, he says, but dutifully follows after Mirios. Is that what they meant? Mirios says wryly. But maybe they should have been clearer. Everyone is just so vague these days.